You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
And welcome to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Richard Franzi. This is podcast episode number 1188, and it's interview number 1502. And I think we have a very good show for you today. I'm excited. Finding your inner passion and linking it with your career is a win-win situation in many aspects. Not only will you be able to live out your passionate dreams, but also, possibly and hopefully, make a difference and claim your spot in society. Jon Kurtz, co-founder of Dog is Good, does just that. I've invited him in the studio today to share the positive influences that dogs have had in his life and with his products and services. Jon, welcome to Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to be here. Let's start by asking you, what I gave the name Dog is Good,
right.
But what is it about your firm? What do you do? What makes you unique? Tell us the story, Jon.
Yeah, it's not a long story necessarily, but several years ago, I would say in the early 2000s, we recognized that there was a cultural shift going on. It wasn't a trend, there was a shift, and it was the importance of dogs in people's lives. And as we're fond of saying, we saw in our lifetime the dog move from the backyard to the bedroom and then into the bed.
Okay.
And we just saw the humanization of pets as being a really big deal. We also saw people getting into the pet industry, people that we knew of, didn't know personally. And we saw people who we kind of thought were making money that had no business making money with products that were just frivolous. And we thought, well, there's something to this. And we were dog lovers. My wife more so than I. I love dogs, but I'm not one of those people. But she is. And
she might be listening to this, Jon.
She probably is, if not live.
What's her name?
And certainly later, Gila.
Hi, Gila. Pleasant talking to you.
So we took note of that and determined that, maybe a better way to go after this would be to serve the dog lover as opposed to the pet industry.
Okay, philosophically, a different approach.
Right, because we figured if we can own as a business, if we could, as a brand, if we could own that relationship with the pet lover, then we could do anything from a product, service, or experience-based standpoint. So that's really what we ended up doing, and it wasn't like a situation where we recognized this is what we're going to do. And on Thursday and then Friday we wrote it all out. It didn't happen that way. In fact, it was slow. I was still in another career. I'm actually a 28-year Navy veteran, retired captain, and all of this thinking was going on while I was still on active duty. So it wasn't.
Where were you stationed?
At that time, I was in Washington State.
Okay. Well, good thing you're down here now with all the snow they're getting up there, so you're fortunate.
Right. Well, that was a while ago.
Right.
I've actually been retired now since the end of 2009.
Okay.
So, so we pulled together a few things, a few products, enough to get a trademark in place, get it out there in commerce, just in a very small way, and so we just started building the business with the notion that we knew we had something, we knew we had an idea, we knew we had good ideas. We had really good messaging, emotional messaging that could appeal to the dog lover because we understood, we knew the person, we knew that the avatar, so to speak.
Right.
Although there's more than one pet lover type of avatar out there, and we made a go at it in fits and starts, and with a little coaching along the way, we learned what we're really about. Because if you're going to go into that industry, well, as you know, you got to niche it down.
Right.
You can't be all things to all people. You can't be all about, hey, I'm all about dog rescue, cute and fuzzy pets, and this and that. What we determined was that what we're best at is diving into that and being part of that dog-human relationship and coming up with the messaging, the art and messaging that just brings people in and reminds them, and this is really the crux of the brand, it reminds them how great it feels to, as we say, how great it feels to be with dog capital D, right? God is good, dog is good. So we do we figured, okay, a little bit of reverence there.
Right.
Same thing in our logo.
So is that how the name came about? Because I'm curious about dog.
Yeah,
is
I
good.
was just flipping it around. God is good, dog is good. And we figured, as I said, it would give us the opportunity for some irreverent humor.
Okay.
And
so is that a part of the brand? Sort of a tongue-in-the-cheek, a little bit, light?
It is.
Okay.
It is. There's definitely a humor component to it. But at the same time, it's something that people relate to. There's always something in the line where anyone who has a relationship with a dog is like, oh my God, that's just so me.
Okay. So are you today, Dog is Good, a product company, an experience company, a services company, or a blend of those three?
Mostly still a product-based business.
Okay.
And what we figured is we need to get out there in a big way, product-based to get known. And then as we can develop the brand, then we can be attractive for services. And we are working on some things right now. And experiential sorts of things as well, which is also the service component is largely experiential. And I'll probably get to this through your questioning today is, what do you do to make revenue? A part of that is also experiential. Not that we're getting paid for experiences, but it's the way in which product is moving.
So let's talk about your revenue engine then. How do you make money? What is the platform?
So we really do three different things. The largest revenue generator is business-to-business, B2B sales. So basically we're selling into retail stores.
Okay.
And a component of that, wholesale sales, is something I'll circle back to, and we call that our Exhibitor Program, where we have people that sell our product only at events and pop-up shops. So that's the wholesale. It's a B2B component. We sell online, dogisgood.com. We have an Amazon presence as well.
Okay.
And we have
Did you debate that, or was that an obvious decision, Amazon?
That was a debate.
Okay.
That was a debate until it became an imperative.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, one of the things that made that decision easy, not easy per se, because at the time, we messed around with that, but it's only fulfillment by Seller Central, Amazon FBA, as opposed to Amazon purchasing your product and reselling it.
Okay.
And when you lose control of pricing, you're out of business. But when Amazon really started doing that and buying from manufacturers directly and cutting out the third-party sellers, then it became an advantage for us to really move out on Amazon, because if you own the brand, if you own the manufacturing and you can control it, then you can make money on Amazon because you charge retail price. So we don't discount anything on Amazon by any means. In fact, sometimes we sell for more.
All right.
And if something, I'm going to give away my secrets to the listeners.
Pay attention.
Yeah. If something is on clearance on the website, it's probably still regular price on Amazon.
Wow.
So, for us it makes sense. We own the brand, we control it. We did have third-party sellers. So there were Amazon power sellers, basically, that were buying from us and selling. And we just, in 2016, I think it was, 2017, we just phased them out and said, hey, by fourth quarter, you're out of here. We want all the holiday sales for ourselves.
So a couple things that I've noticed so far in our interview here, and I'm talking with Jon Kurtz. He is one of the co-founders of Dog is Good. I believe the most valuable real estate in any company is the space between the entrepreneur's ears. This gray area called our brain.
Right.
It's our philosophy. If that real estate isn't right, the business can struggle. If that real estate is right, the rest of the things kind of, I think, over time fall in line. Sure. I'm impressed that early on you thought strategically about your company as a brand and what you wanted it to be, knowing that most entrepreneurs iterate that strategy. Usually it's not the first go that ends up being the scalable business model. But
and I will tell you, it was through coaching from a specific person that the light bulb went on.
Okay.
And we had a conversation. Gila and I remember it distinctly. And he says, "What are you about?" Because we thought, we got this great stuff and, great ideas and great humor. He's like, "Well, what are you about?" "Well, we're about this and dogs and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "No, what are you about?" And basically, it was like, come back in a year.
A grasshopper.
Yeah, that's I was just thinking. It's kind of like watching Kung Fu.
Yeah, Karate Kid.
Kung Fu.
Oh, Kung Fu,
yeah,
right.
back
Yeah,
in
the
like
TV
the
show.
late
Yeah.
70s.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, so we thought we kind of nailed it there, and then he said, come back in a year, and we did, and he liked it. So, so we kind of marched down that road. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build a brand. So in doing that, we also recognize that, wow, what we're really doing is creating intellectual property that we can repurpose again and again and again, because when it's art and messaging for dog lovers, it doesn't matter what it is. If someone likes it, they want it. And wants are senior to needs, right? They're more important than needs, so people will buy it. And we also then went down the road of licensing the brand. And we have now 30-something licensees.
Okay.
That make everything from puppy pee pads to shower curtains, glassware, Post-it notes. I mean, you name it. There's like all this Dog is Good branded stuff out there from a number of different manufacturers, including now some household products and pet products. And
so if you were to share lessons learned about companies that choose a licensing strategy like that to extend and expand their brand, have you learned any critical lesson that you'd like those who haven't done it yet to benefit from your experience?
Yeah, I don't know that I could distill it down to any one great point other than it takes time. You can't just go out there and say, I've got a brand. A brand is a promise.
Yes.
How do you prove that you're meeting a promise? You gotta show great customer service. You gotta show great art. And in our case, because we're art based, it's not like we're licensing a technology out or something. But we've got to show acceptance out there. So getting that first licensee or first significant licensee, because there's people come and they're like, hey, I want to license it, or a small company, and they don't do much. But they can still get the brand out there.
Okay.
So you have to kind of recognize that, all right, there might be a lot of effort involved in this. I'll give you an example. We have a licensee that does credit and debit cards. They just license sports figures, whatever. So, and I didn't realize this, but the 20-somethings, 30-somethings, they do a lot of prepaid cards. They just keep recharging cards. Well, this company does that in addition to credit cards with banks and that sort of thing. So they wanted to license the Dog is Good brand and use some of our messaging on these cards. Now, it doesn't, it's hardly even worth the money we make each quarter from that isn't even worth recording it in our, in our system. But people are seeing it all the time, right? They're paying with the card. Someone sees the brand, someone sees our art and messaging, and then contrast that with we've got a couple of licensees that got product into advanced auto parts. So that's car magnets with our art and messaging and air fresheners, 2 different licensees. That's right now, so far, it's probably 3,500 to 4,000 stores.
Wow.
Not a lot of product going in each one, but it adds up and it gets out there. So it's gotten us into thousands and thousands of storefronts that we would never be able to get into. So right now it's really brand exposure. We are working on some and actually signed some pretty good sized licensing deals that I'm not.
Yeah,
I can't.
We're not breaking news here today on Critical Mass Radio.
I can't do that. So that's
come back.
That's exciting, but it's taken us. I think we started licensing. Our first contract was signed in 2011. So how long it's taken us? 8 years.
Patience, then it takes
to get to this, and you'd sign someone big, and so we just signed a contract with someone that's big, and they won't have product out until probably third quarter next year.
2020. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a long game.
We won't get paid until the quarter after.
Right.
So yeah, licensing is a long game.
Okay.
In the type of licensing we're doing.
Okay. We're talking with Jon Kurtz. He's co-founder of Dog is Good, about his brand and philosophy. I wonder if you could think about a time in your career where you had failure at something.
Never happened.
Okay.
Never.
Then I'll just skip on to the next question, because there's nothing to see here, ladies and gentlemen. But maybe you can reflect on someone else's failures and share with us about, can you explain the circumstance? And sort of what I'm really interested in is not just the setup, but what was the lesson that you carried forward from that?
Yeah, well, this happened to someone I know.
Okay, yeah, good friend of mine.
Yeah, one that happened in the last year and a half, and we made a ton of mistakes, and some pretty bad in terms of, largely, I would say, in terms of manufacturing and getting not having a recourse over pallets worth of you know what. But we were working with a well-known retailer, 100 stores, and the buyers were pretty excited about stuff, and we were excited. 100 stores, you know, with fully stocked displays and all this stuff, and the buyers were like, well, we want to do this, and we're thinking, well, you want to do it, so okay, we'll provide. But we knew that probably wasn't the best choice of product. They'd made some good decisions here, and that was good, and they wanted this, and we didn't really. We thought, well, we thought you know better in a way,
right?
And
you're the customer.
You're the customer. We don't want to counter that. And as it turns out, none of these commodities sold.
Oh my God!
And that hamstrung the buyers from buying anything new from us,
right?
Because they had all this money sitting in inventory, and until that stuff moved, they couldn't do anything else. Wow. So, yeah, it cost us a lot.
So if you were to do it if you were to do it again, how would you do it differently? What did you learn from that?
That if we feel strongly enough about something in a situation like that, then yeah, we need to speak up. The buyer doesn't necessarily know.
Right. Right. You're sort of protecting them against themselves.
Right.
So.
And there's situations, maybe not in this case, but where we might know their customer base a little bit. And we know, in different verticals, different customer likes. And very well, maybe they know their customer.
Right.
But
lessons learned.
Right. Right. And that's one. I mean, there's always
Well, let's turn it in a slightly different direction then. I'm curious about unintended consequences of strategic decisions. Can you think of a time where you had a strategic decision or an important decision that you guys made and you expected one outcome and the reality was something that was different?
I would say that happens pretty frequently, and I'm very aware. I'm actually very thoughtful, and a lot of it has to do with my Navy upbringing.
Sure, yeah.
Right. It's a very risk-averse organization because mistakes can cost millions like that, or harm to people,
right, lives
and whatnot. So this always comes up, and one of the conversations we had is how should we incentivize salespeople? Well, if we're giving them the leads to work, or their existing customers or dormant customers, there's a certain amount of effort involved in that, but there's also a certain amount of surety that they're going to get the sale.
Right.
So we shouldn't incentivize that as much as somebody who has to go and cold call,
right,
and hit the bricks and do all that kind of stuff, right?
The effort, right.
Right. So if you're going to pay 2 or 3 times, like say 15% instead of 5%, well, think from the other perspective, right? Where are they going to spend their time? Knocking on these doors with a higher payoff probability.
Probably.
So those are the conversations that I think everybody has to look to. But we've also done things where we ended up doing a lot of work for a little bit of revenue, investing a lot of money in product that didn't necessarily work out. But when I look at these things, one of the things I always kind of joke about is the flawed plan poorly executed. Right? You start with a plan that was kind of half baked, and you do it badly, or even if you do it correctly, it's just not going to work out anyway. But then there's times where you have a good plan and you've evaluated it, but somewhere in the execution, something went wrong. And that causes, it's an unintended consequence, but it's a consequence of a wrongful action, not of a bad plan.
Right.
But then there's consequences, unintended consequences, where you got a good plan, and you've thought it through, you think, and you've executed it well, and then things go badly. And those are the tend to be the real bad unintended consequences. So there was one that came to mind, and that is probably 4 years ago. We were doing a Facebook contest, and we had pretty good Facebook following, and at the time we we were doing a lot more on Facebook. So we were going to do a Dog Mom of the Year contest. So people had to submit a photo and what they do in terms of like dog rescue or things that benefit dogs and blah, blah, blah. So we had a really nice package, and we narrowed it down to 10 people. It was a lot of reading to go through all these things. And we read up on what are the legal requirements for contests, and found that, hey, you got to make it USA only, and, you know, the random stuff and whatever, in case someone ever had to pull the string on this and see that, hey, you know, you guys, it was unlawful and whatever. So we didn't want to go down that road. So we thought we had a pretty watertight plan here. So we got it down to 10, and then we found that one of the 10 contestants was in the UK, and they had not divulged that. So we kindly said, look, you didn't divulge this, and we have to take you out of the contest because you're disqualified because of you falsified what you did. And then Facebook lit up like you've never seen before, and everybody, all the dog mums in the UK, were activated against Dog is Good.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Talk about an unintended consequence.
It was amazing.
Right.
And it was, what do we do? You know, it's like this big S storm coming our way. And you know, the threats and this and that. And
so let's put a bow on it. What'd you do?
We let it ride. Ultimately, you could say you're sorry, and they'll pick apart your apology. You know, we've been through this again since, and you know, it's a great weapon when it needs to be. So we made the apology, and then just left it at that.
Okay.
And let it run its course.
Right. Let the energy come out of it over time.
Absolutely. I think that it's easy to really overreact in a lot of these situations, but it also helps to just have the ability to let it go for a little bit and see what happens.
So we're talking with Jon Kurtz. He's a co-founder of Dog is Good. And final question here on Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast for today. I'm going to have you back a couple years into the future. What's going to be different? Where are you going? What can we expect from you and Dog is Good 3 to 5 years out? If that's not too far of a crystal ball for you.
Yeah, we think about that all the time.
Okay.
Our vision is to be to dog lovers what Harley Davidson is to motorcycle enthusiasts.
I was thinking, yes.
Top of mind for all things product, service, and experience for dog lovers. No one's got that position.
Okay.
And that's where we'll be in 5 years.
Because when you were talking about how you were licensing and people were using for air fresheners, I was thinking of Harley Davidson because people wear Harley Davidson because they want people to know all the good things you impart on Harley Davidson, you should impart on me because I've identified with that brand. Or they've tattooed it on some part of their body and wear it permanently.
Exactly. And people buy our stuff, and in the case of apparel, they wear it because it's who they are as a person. It's a dog lover, and they're telling the world. And people love to tell us, I got so many compliments on that new hoodie or T-shirt or whatever. It's who they are. And this whole humanization of pets and all of dogs. It's not a trend; it's a cultural shift, and there's a lot of good lessons in that, and a lot of good insights to be had when you look at that in the future of retail, and how we intend to navigate that. One of the things I did want to mention was to circle back on was our Exhibitor Program.
Yes.
So we've got an army of brand advocates that buy wholesale from us and sell retail at events and pop-up shops as a business opportunity, and they're going crazy with it. They love it. It energizes the customer. It's experiential sorts of selling, which is very important now in the world of boring retail and department store kinds of things.
Sure.
But it's a really powerful way to do sales. And
so if someone would like to learn more, or maybe even buy some Dog is Good product, what's your website? Where would they find you online?
Dogisgood.com. Simple.
Pretty simple.
Simple as that. And anything that they need to know or want to connect with us about, whether it's licensing, pop-up shops, whatever. There's links on there.
Great. Dogisgood.com.
Correct.
That's so simple. Hard to
It
forget.
is. It
John,
is.
thank you for being a friend and a part of the critical mass community. I appreciate you coming in and sharing a bit of your story with our audience. And I look forward to having you back at some point in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the conversation, and I really want to reinforce the fact that how great it is to hear an entrepreneur who started with a strategy decision before implementing, because sometimes
Well, when you look back and time is compressed,
Yes.
it kind of
overlaps a
kind
little
of
bit.
like we had our act together.
Right. Yeah, well, you're so modest. So thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Paul Roberts, who is the engineer for today's show, and the three producers without whom I could not do this show, Joan Park, Crystal Nunley, and Haley Stern. If you'd like to connect with me online, let's start at LinkedIn. I'm Richard Franzi, Franzi. And until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions move your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.